not surprised, motherfuckers. That was the line that pierced the stunned silence of the MMA world when Nate Diaz submitted the infallible Conor McGregor back in 2016.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Now, Nate has fighting in his blood. He doesn't play the game by anyone's rules but his own. And when everyone counts him out, that's when he shines. The noise from the haters was loud when soft Nate came nose to nose with Conor's win streak. And it's louder now when he's, in many people's eyes, being thrown to the wolf. Breaking news. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Chris Barnett.
What in the Reese's peanut butter fuck is going on here?
That's a no, 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 no. Go high, go low, low, low. Like spinning in a 644. No sleep, need more, more, more. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up.
I'll never fight him in here, but I'll fight him right now if I could find it.
What on earth is going on in the House of Commons?
What on earth is going on in the House of Commons?
I was all set to sit here and talk with you about how the whole world was telling Nate Diaz that he had a 91.67% chance of getting either knocked out or mauled by Khamzat Chimaev, but how math and probability cannot comprehend the human spirit. And if there was one person on the entire UFC roster with enough spite to cause this upset, it was Nate Diaz. And then I went off to my work summer party and all hell broke loose. Actually, the drama started on Thursday night when a brawl broke out backstage of the UFC 279 press conference, which ended up being cancelled due to these events. Now, apparently this was a scuffle between Kevin Holland and Khamzat Chimaev's entourage of like 30 odd people, and then Nate Diaz and his entourage of like 50 odd people all joined in. That's according to the stories told by Dana White. Weirdly though, no footage has made its way to the forefront of the internet, apart from like one video where Kevin Holland and Darren Till are having words, but it doesn't even look that heated. But that was all just a little bit of fun. Then I went off to my work summer party, and Khamzat, while no longer under my supervision, missed weight by 7.5 pounds. That's a lot of weight. He says the doctors stopped him cutting weight at about 4 a.m. that morning because something wasn't right with his body. When he stepped on that scale, that did not look like a man who had depleted himself trying to desperately lose a shit ton of weight. He looked very healthy, but I suppose I'm not a scientist, I don't know that much. Maybe he replenished in that time period, I don't know. He also said that the issues with his weight cut were due to the fact that he thought this fight was going to be in October, and he'd actually been trying to gain a lot of muscle between camps, so that means that it just wasn't the same sort of weight cut as he's used to. Now, generally speaking about like weight cutting, I think that the fact that organizations like the UFC don't put more rules and precautions in place to outlaw weight cutting and to stop their athletes from cutting these obscene amounts of weight is absolute bullshit. Now, I can see why the fighters do it, because it's legal, and if it's legal then someone's going to be doing it, and you don't want to have that disadvantage against your opponent. But if it was outlawed by the organizations, it would be an even playing field again, and the athletes would be a lot healthier. So I don't agree with weight cutting as a concept, but it is your job as a fighter to make weight.
For the guys that missed weight and couldn't make it here tonight, get your stuff together, hire a nutritionist, get on the scale, make weight, and go perform.
And having 7.5 pounds over your opponent could be a huge advantage, especially in a fight that many were calling extremely one-sided anyway. It's just unprofessional. All that being said, I expected Nate to still go for the fight. He's never going to turn down a scrap, is he? Of course, after the weight miss, there were rumours flying around everywhere. I could not keep up. Now, Kevin Holland was already scheduled to fight in a sort of last-minute catch weight bout against D-Rod at 180 pounds. So that was kind of an obvious matchup against the hefty Chimaev. And, you know, especially considering the storyline that had started to unfold just one night prior. Can you smell? Smells a lot like fish to me. Now call me fucking cynical, but I don't think there was any fucking brawl at all. I think they just realised this was going to happen and were trying to garner some interest in the new matchup, so that all the fans didn't just abandon ship. As if I fucking could anyway. I'd watch two socks fight if they were Venom branded. But just to spice negotiations up now that he had the upper hand, Holland said he would only fight if it was a 5-round main event. Now my initial reaction to that was, fuck you, Chimaev doesn't deserve a 5-round main event after what he just pulled. And it seems the UFC had a similar idea because it ended up as a 5-round co-main event. But apart from my initial outrage, I was up for the 5 rounds because we saw Khamzat get super tired in the 3rd round of the Burns fight. But if you've got 3 rounds, 15 minutes still to go, we're going to see if he gives up. Of course, if it gets that far, but we'll come to that. Now we get to see what Khamzat Chimaev can bring to those championship rounds, and maybe, just maybe, what he'll bring is the advantage for Holland. Now, at the new face-offs, Rogan asked Holland,
"Is this a better fight for you?" "Fuck no, but it's gonna be a fun one."
Just like that, an icon was born. Okay, so it's gonna be the wrestling, really, isn't it? The story of Holland's entire career is that the boy can strike, he's a BJJ black belt, but his wrestling sucks. We have seen it improve immensely, but let's be honest, not enough to face the Khamzats of the world, and he's under no illusion that his skills are up there. He said that his family are super nervous about the matchup because they know he can't fucking wrestle, but what he knows is he's getting paid, so it's all good. He does believe that he can tap anybody out and that he can play on the feet, but his strategy has to involve pushing that pace, putting on the pressure for 5 rounds, and wearing Khamzat down. And that'll make him less dangerous. Now, another strategy could be to really fire him up. Now, it's a dangerous game to play, but after that Burns fight, which was Khamzat's last fight, he said that he made so many mistakes because he was dead set on just getting that knockout and being that continuous highlight reel that all like his technical abilities went out the window. He said he'd never do that again. But if anyone can rile someone up to make mistakes, it's big mouth Kevin Holland. And don't get me wrong, I'm not even going to bother sitting here and telling you all the ways in which Khamzat has an advantage. We don't have all day. And the likelihood is he will win it, but I am already loving this fight. And it's not even happened yet. Even if it lasts 1 second, it's been a damn blast. And Kevin Holland has earned the respect of the entire freaking world and a few favours from the UFC in the future. So with that fight looking like the most obvious new matchup, what about the even more beloved than we ever thought freaking possible Nate Diaz? For a split second, it looked like we were going to get the fight that we'd been crying out for since it was cancelled from UFC 230. Dustin Poirier stepped in said that he could make weight, had a private jet on standby, said he'd even had conversations with the UFC talking about the possibility of this matchup happening, but they didn't get back in touch. It seemed like they really had their eyes set on the new opponent for Nate Diaz being Tony Ferguson, which is what is happening. And it's kind of fair enough. If you've promised Tony a fight, you don't fucking screw over El Kukui, do you? Before we get onto that new matchup, I'm gonna say this because it's important. Yes, skill for skill. The Diaz versus Khamzat original fight had a whole heap of disparities. Where they are in their careers, like one going up, one seemingly on his way out. Size, even before this weight miss. Wrestling skills, scar tissue. But here's the thing though, Nate has a way of turning fights around, not always to the point that he gets the win, but he's rarely fully out of it. In the last fight against Leon, who we just saw win the title in the most spectacular fashion when everyone was counting him out, in that fight against Leon, we saw Nate take punishment for 4 rounds and then nearly get Leon out in the 5th round. We saw it in the Johnson fight, where he looked rusty in round 1, struggling to find his range and getting kicked to the high heavens. But later in the fight, he lit Johnson up with crisp combinations and clawed it back for the unanimous decision. And Khamzat likes to go in hard. He doesn't like to see those later rounds. He had to weather that storm with Burns, handle the pressure, handle the danger, get up after being knocked down. But before that, we never even saw his cardio get tested for 3 rounds. And Diaz does triathlons for fun. He can take it and he can dish it out. He is so tough. And there was a chance that Khamzat would empty his gas tank, trying to get one of his trademark wins, and Diaz would have fucked him up come rounds 4 and 5. And it's that chance, that what if scenario, that MMA unicorn, that was what this fight was all about for me. And now we'll never know. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. And now we will never have the chance to be surprised. But the new matchup makes a hell of a lot of sense for both Tony and Nate. It seems more respectful to both veterans these stages of their careers. More balanced, but still a super exciting fight. Now we love Nate because he doesn't give a fuck, he's authentic, he's a bit of an asshole, he's completely anti-establishment, and we fucking love to see it. And that is a beautiful segue into the person who is the real hero of this whole fucking thing, Jingliang. The complete opposite to Nate Diaz. The Leech. The lovely, lovely Leech. Could I love him anymore? No, I don't think I fucking could. From getting himself a sharp new suit that he didn't even get to wear to the press conference, to taking on a last-minute opponent who came in on the scales at like 8 pounds heavier than he is, by saying, no problem, to taking selfies with the guy he's going to fight, and taking care of the guy he was supposed to fight. Be careful. The Leech is now one of my favourite fighters. Heck, people. And I feel all warm and cosy just knowing that he exists. So on that note, shall we watch him and D-Rod try to knock each other's heads off?
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up.
Slipped into something both more comfortable and more... You can't even read it. It says need coffee. Oh my god. Energy. So the story of all these fights really is that no one got who they were preparing for. It's kind of like having someone in mind that you want for Secret Santa and then getting that one person in the office that you don't know anything about, and you're just like having to ask around what they might like. No? So we get to see fighting in its rawest form. There's no strategy. There's barely going to be a game plan. They're just going to have to feel each other out and figure out who really is the better guy. This matchup is no easier for Rodriguez than Holland was, despite him being the significantly bigger guy. It's not always an advantage in practice. We should be on the lookout for speed disparities. Maybe some cardio difficulties if Leach really uses his lighter frame to push the pressure, but then again, if D-Rod hasn't had to cut weight, that's another thing that can wear on the cardio, so it could go either way really. Oh, this is a super active first round. But of course D-Rod might show us he has the strength and power needed to be the first guy to ever get the Leach out of there, knocked out. I just want Lee to unleash. Leach. I just want the Leach to unleash. It's too early for that shit. For riddles. I just want Lee to unleash that right hand, man. I know I'm only a few seconds in, but just let it go. It is a fight ender. Absolutely vicious. We just spoke about D-Rod's power. And yes, his striking is trouble for anyone. But let's not forget the power that Lee has in his hands and shins, apparently. Oh, Leach clipped him. Nice. The pressure is... and it started. Both these guys, they've taken direct shots and don't even seem to notice, and so no wonder neither of them have ever been knocked out. Leach is swinging and D-Rod is popping that jab. His jab is a thing of beauty, and it is wild to me that like most fans don't really think of him at all. You know what I mean? Like, they don't think of him as a contender or whatever, or he's only now being recognised as one of the top guys. But he's won 12 fights since 2017. That is active. He's just one of those warriors who's never going to back down in a fight, so he's always entertaining. And this fight is a huge opportunity for him to get that weight behind his name, literally. Tubbo. He is currently looking a little hesitant. Could be the hand injury, the long layoff, lack of preparation, or I could be imagining it because this fight is close, flush, so evenly matched, which is hilarious seeing as it wasn't the one that the UFC initially chose. Lee is ever so slightly younger, but he has 8 more professional fights than D-Rod. But their records and like skills on paper are so damn close. We've got like a 74% and a 75% finish rate. 9 knockouts for Leach, 8 for Rodriguez, 5 submission wins for Leach, 4 for D-Rod, 5 decision wins for Leach, 4 for D-Rod. So close. The pace from the Leach, I think, is putting him up in my books, plus that big old right that he landed, but it's close, babes, it's close. Leach's head movement is like beaut against that super crisp jab, and it would be landing more if Lee wasn't looking so fluid. Leach fluid. This is hard to call, but I don't got it. I'm still going to. It's the Leach. Okay, so I know I said it was close, but then the second the judges disagreed with me and gave the win to D-Rod, I'm like, the audacity! Leach was faster, he was more active, he landed a couple of like, oof moments. Plus, D-Rod's tattoos suck. I'm just being petty now. Moving on. Even though Holland believes the 5 rounds will give him an edge, we do have to remember that Chimaev was prepping for 5 rounds and Holland wasn't. That takedown was lightning! How does one move so fast? Holland scrambling. Oh, he's back up. I was gonna say, let's see if this is a war. I can't take my eyes off it. Sorry, you're gonna have to look at the side of my face. I was going to say, let's see if this war is a war. Oh, it's just, he's got the DAS. Or if we see more calculated Khamzat, but he surely can't keep this pace up. This is not a man who's trying to see those later rounds. Not letting that position go at all. This is beautiful. Oh. No, he's tapped. There goes the unicorn. I mean, it was exhilarating and masterful to watch, but there were no what if moments. I guess the booze didn't get into Khamzat's head. Kind of feel like I had an inkling that Santa was bullshit, but I was choosing to retain that last ounce of hope, and then my dad just came in and stamped all over it with his boot and said, grow the fuck up, there's no such thing as Santa Claus. Crowd is still booing. Joe is checking Khamzat like a disappointed ant. That was incredible though. Like, the people booing, I don't know, get your priorities right. Like, we're still witnessing something historic in Khamzat's run, and you're gonna miss it because you're focusing on things that, yes, matter, covered that, but that performance did not warrant a single boo. I've just realised it's time for the main frickin' event. Let's talk about all the advantages that this new matchup brings for Nate. Neither fighter has won since 2019. Ferguson's on a 4-fight losing streak. Nate is only on 2, so there's something. Ferguson's move to a welterweight could potentially be desperation, or it could be the smartest move he ever made. Tony's still dangerous, of course, and in his prime, he had an almost unmatched ability to walk through fire, but his chin and his ability to recover have been put into question recently, and that last fight ended in a brutal knockout. Diaz is definitely more durable, though also not in the prime of his career, and I do expect these two veteran strikers who both have super slick submission games to just stand and brawl. Look at that arena. We are going straight in. No feeling out, period. We're spinning. We're butt to canvas. Tony is starting aggressive. We're bleeding. We're less than 2 minutes in. Playing Tony Diaz, I fucking love it. Tony is an awkward and persistent striker, excellent cardio, threat after threat on the canvas, and really you could describe Nate in the exact same way, but Nate was prepping for 5 rounds, remember? Tony just 3. A lot of Tony's wins have come from like wearing his opponents down, but you can't wear down a Diaz. Whoa, Diaz is landing like those trademark small shots that build up. That's just his jam. He's not about the power. He keeps the volume and the pressure up. And really in this fight it should come down to who can land the most significant damage. So far it is a story of damage and it goes to the decision. So far the damage has to go to Diaz. Like, I'm not saying he won that first round. Tony was definitely more aggressive, more active moving forward, but Tony's overextending. He's making some mistakes, and I'm just using my crystal ball. See, the damage, at least superficially, is more on Tony than Nate. Like, he's now got a cut over his eye, which could be an issue. He's having a lot of success in this round, though. They are both so awkward, I fucking love it. But Tony is having a shit ton of success with that low kick. Watch out, Nathaniel. Tony with the ankle pick, nothing going, but we love to see it. Look at... Ooh. Nate's leg is lumpy, delicious. Oh. What's going on here? Looks like an angry lion? Oh, they silly. This pace is delicious. Diaz has such beautiful boxing and he knows it. He keeps his hands so low, he can land that quick jab from like below the eye line. His best chance of finishing the fight historically is on the mat, but he is showing absolutely no interest in that. I stand corrected. Guillotine was masterful. He got caught and then Diaz was just perfect from there on out. I'm a bit emotional. Like, it's such a different story for the end of his UFC career than like everyone expected, and he deserves to go out like this, like prime Diaz, showing us why we love him. And it's not just for his like personality, but he's just so masterful, especially on the mat. Speaking of going out, what's next for him? Like, he says he's gonna go and show everyone how to dominate in another sport. Imagine if it's table tennis, but it's probably boxing. And I'll watch, of course I'll watch, but will we ever get to see that Conor trilogy? Nate didn't completely burn his bridges with the UFC, and Conor says we will, and right amount of money, anything can happen. For now though, you can watch my Greatest Trilogies video, which I'll link for you on the end screen. I'll bob the Khamzat video on there in case you were hoping for a little bit more ham this evening. I mean, you got 7.5 extra pounds of him. That's a big old ham. Like, subscribe, follow me on Insta. I usually put the link in the description box. And I'll see you next week for the last UFC card before they go on their little break. Start prepping yourself for a few lonely Saturday nights. I was born ready for that.